And honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach, his esteemed and blessed son this day. And let's go to John 5:39. And after John 5:39, Matthew chapter 13 and verse 47. And when we go after John, after that, we're going to make it do what it do. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I came in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accuse you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So, hold on. Now, one of the key things of that statement, what we looked at, he said, if you don't believe Moses' writings, you won't believe his words. When any of y'all hear that, it doesn't matter who answers. What does that say to you when you hear it? If you didn't believe Moses' writings, how would you will not believe my words? Indeed, indeed. Anybody else?
What he said and how the Most High told Moses to write Genesis.
You know what? At the root of what he basically saying is, you didn't believe it beforehand, and you're not gonna believe it now. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what he's telling you. You didn't believe it back then, so I know you're not going to believe it now. The reason why I mention that, because you know in John 6, Hamashiach stated there are some of you that believe not. So remember I stated this here because remember how we kept running through seeing that Shema yesterday, the rock side that he discussed last night, and the purpose of that comes in that because it comes from hearkening. Hearkening comes because you believe. See, you don't listen to something that you don't trust or believe in. You're not going to hearken. You're not going to listen to something if you don't believe it, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep that in mind. The reason I mention this here because you can read this text, but does it really mean that you believe it? Because there needs to be a manifestation of the profession of faith that an individual says they possess. Matthew 13 and 47. Again, the kingdom of Shamahim is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which when it was full they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good in the vessels and cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The Malachim shall come forth. The Malachim shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Yahushua saith unto them, have you understood all these things? They say unto him, yea, master. Then he said unto them, therefore every scribe which is instructed into the kingdom of Shamahim is like unto a man that is a householder, which bring forth out of his treasure things new and old. Does anybody remember what a householder is? The master of the house. So what we looking at is as being the master, as Yahushua being the master of the house. We have to go through this thing and out of his vessel bring forth things new and old. We started something yesterday afternoon, and now we will complete it in its totality in conjunction with another matter that we looked at as well. So everyone, let's take ourselves to Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 11, and let's re-begin from where we started yesterday. Make it 9 and 8. The Ruach HaKadosh, this signifying that the way into the Kadesh of all was not made yet manifest as while the first tabernacle was yet standing. which was a figure for the time then present, in which we offer both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience, which stood only in meats and drinks and divers washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation. Now pause. Now we're going to focus on this time of Reformation. When you hear time of Reformation, what is that telling you? It's reforming something, or this particular word, regeneration, or more specifically, resurrection, or being born again or born anew. Because he said that all of these ordinances, the washings, the meats, the drinks, were only until the time of Reformation. That means a time of rebirth. Once the time of rebirth had been established, there was no longer any need to continue to do these things. Now see, that is going to pertain to something else that we are going to see, Yah willing, very shortly. Let's take ourselves to John chapter 3 verse 1. Amen, dude. So you good, man. I'm in the zone. Yeah, that's what I figured. I just was confirming that. Making sure. Just making sure. I seen that though when you brought your notepad out, sir. That was a telltale sign. John 3 and 5, right? Make it 3 and 3. Yahushua answered and said unto them, Truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Nicodemus saith unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter in the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahushua answered, Truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Now we're going to sit back and we're going to we're just going to be painstakingly with it. And we're going to sit back and we're going to go in this law, and then we're going to go to Mashiach and sit back and watch how this man did this to show you that there was a time of Reformation. Now we have to go back and all the way in the law with Exodus, because it's Passover, and see the state that our people were in. So let's go to Exodus chapter 2.
Hey. Go sit down.
After Exodus chapter 2, we will take ourselves to Exodus chapter 14. And from Exodus chapter 14, we'll take ourselves to either Mark or John. Don't make no difference. Make it Exodus chapter 1. Exodus 1 and about 5. Let's do that instead.
Lay down in your bed. You sleepy?
Yeah, that'll shut you down real quick. And of all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Mizraim already. Joseph died and all his brethren and all that generation. And the children of Yasharal were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Mizraim, which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Yasharal are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there fall out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Yasharal, and the Mizraim made the children of Yasharal to serve with rigor. Now notice it said that he set taskmasters over them to afflict them. Let's look at taskmasters very, very quickly. That word for taskmasters is mas. It's a gang of body of forced laborers, or a labor band, or a labor gang, or a slave gang, or forced service, or someone who's been discomfited, or a tributary. So when we look at that, it says Pharaoh set over them a taskmaster. What do you think this would be referring to for us? If you're looking at it, he set over them a taskmaster to afflict them with burdens. Does anybody got any idea what he could be Again, a burden is burden bearing. The word is savala. It's forced labor, compulsory service. So this individual brings forth a labor to afflict you with a compulsory service. Okay, Hashatan, how so, sir?
When I think about something that's compulsive, like, it sounds carnal.
Compulsive, if my memory serves me correctly, is someone who's forcing you to do something. Though you're not necessarily being forced to do it. They were being forced to do something. But let's sit back and look at it, right? Okay, we look at the Egyptians, and we'll take and say the Egyptians set over them taskmasters. So we'll just go ahead and put the Egyptians being Satan. So what is this taskmaster that they're putting over you? And then what is the burden that you're carrying? What burden are you being afflicted with?
Your flesh. That's what I was thinking. Your flesh.
Flesh? Anybody
That's
else?
your burden.
So what is the task that their master, that they're afflicting? What is this service that they're afflicting you with? Worldly things. Anybody else? No, there's nothing wrong with that. The taskmaster, what you're looking at is your sins. You being afflicted with your burden. Your burden because of your sins is death. Because that's the burden you're going to have to carry for your task or for your labor. Remember, he said the wages of sin is what? And that would be, if you're getting wages for what?
Your work.
Your work. So he set these taskmasters over you. So this is the reason why I pointed, while we're looking at this. In John 8:44, he said, "You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do." So he's a sinner. We're going to go to Romans chapter 7 real quick. And of course your flesh is involved in that, as was stated. Because what is Satan going to try to appease you with? He's going to try to entice you through your flesh. Romans chapter 7. Romans 7 and 13. Romans 7 and 13. He say, "Was then that which is good made death unto me? Elohim forbid. But seeing that it might appear sin working death in me by that which is good, the sin by the commandment became exceeding sinful." The only reason why I started with this verse is for one reason. When we went into Egypt by Joseph's hand, was it for our good or was it for our destruction?
For our good.
It was for our good. But once Joseph had to pass, what did it end up becoming?
For our destruction.
So when you look at that and he said that which ended up being good for us ended up turning being death for us in the end. But it was to perform something greater at the latter end. That as well. He said, "For we know that Torah is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do I allow not. For what I would, that I do I not. But what I hate, that do I. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto Torah that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwell in me." So there goes that taskmaster right there that's dwelling in you, that's bringing forth a burden. Because like I say, how I want to take this in like this here, right? Let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask you this here. If we looking at if we're looking at the taskmaster being a matter of sin or works of the flesh, then what would be some of that labor? Because remember, Paul just stated right here, he seemed like he being forced or being compelled to do something he don't want to do. Ain't that what he just stated? Oh, I want y'all to hear him clear. Let me read that again so you can catch this and see why I'm going in the direction that I'm going. He says in verse 15, "For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I." Do you think your forefathers loved building these people treasure cities? So you see how they were. So you see Paul making a statement how he seems to be forced or compelled in some sort of labor that he doesn't want any part of. Look at the next thing he says. He say, if then I do that which I would not, I consent unto Torah that is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwell in me. Well, at that particular time, we were dwelling in sin because we were dwelling in Egypt. So there was nothing all around you but things that would be contrary to your Elohim, of which at that time you knew not. You didn't know anything about him. Never seen him, didn't know his name, didn't know his ways, you didn't know nothing. Which is the state of every single solitary person in this room. Every person in this room at a particular time had no idea who Yahuwah was. You didn't know what he was about. You didn't know what he stood for. You didn't know his name. Just like your ancestors didn't know. So now they're in a state where they're being compelled to perform tasks that they don't want to perform. Does anybody have any inkling of giving examples of tasks that are of the flesh or of sin that individuals perform that they necessarily may not want to perform, but because of the wickedness of their flesh, they feel compelled to do so? Idolatry, lust, what else?
Lying.
And what else?
Porn.
Very well then. I accept all of those.
I would have thought all the fruits of the flesh.
Yeah, all that's not fruits of the flesh, it's works of the flesh. Never fruits of the flesh, because there is no fruit of the flesh. Well, yeah, I heard it. I just had to get to him. I said that anybody come up with any examples of taskmasters, which means that ascended the works of the flesh. Remember, works of the flesh are what? She mentioned lust and idolatry, and what else? Pride, envy, lasciviousness, murder, blasphemy, heresies, envyings, strife, sedations, emulations, which is jealousy, wrath. These are the taskmasters that rest within a man that makes him feel compelled. You notice how people say, I can't seem to stop doing this or doing that? Because they feel compelled to perform this labor. But remember, we looked at something that a man cannot enter into the kingdom unless he be born of what? Water and the Ruach. So let's go back to Exodus chapter 14. See, but we know that once you, it's like this here, right? What did Hamashiach say in John chapter 8 about verse 32? Everybody says it.
You shall know the truth.
And so the word will free you from that compulsory labor and the affliction of the burden. Because Hebrews chapter 2 tells us what? That everybody was in fear of the bondage of death. Because that was the affliction of your burden. Because this is what your taskmaster, or what Satan wants to afflict you with. He wants to afflict you with your, matter of fact, before we read that, 1 Peter chapter 5. Because all I've dealt with and he dealt with, what does Yah require of you? Yah requires you to be just. So you need to know justice and judgment. He requires you to love mercy. And he requires you to walk humbly, or going into what we've been talking about all week, being lowly and poor and afflicted and humble. You are not going to enter into this man's kingdom if you do not bow down under his power. It is impossible. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Everything we've been dealing with this week is to get your mind, your heart, your soul, and your spirit geared to humble yourself under the mighty Elohim, that you can enter into his esteem and dwell with him forever. Now, if that ain't what you want to do, I don't know what to tell you. That should be the desire of every man, woman, and child in this room. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 6. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand. Matter of fact, back it up to 5. 5 and 5. 1 Peter 5 and 5. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and clothed with humility, for Elohim resist the proud and give con to the humble. See, when he tell you that he resists the proud, he is going to separate those who humble themselves.
Why? Come here.
I want y'all to think about that. See, this is why he resisted Pharaoh, because he was proud. And he separated Yasharal because they humbled themselves for a moment. See, if you want this man to accept you and to make you a separated seed, which is basically to be born again, you have to humble yourself. So we've been talking about all week. So if you don't humble yourself, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. See, when I was talking to them last night, the whole point of the conversation was to focus on that Yah felt like his women, meaning the daughters of Zion specifically, and then the daughter of Zion in totality, meaning us as a people, had become lifted up because we had certain things. See, we felt like we were this, that, there, and the third. And it caused us to forget him. So therefore he said, I will humble you and I will strip these things from you to lower you to a lower estate to where you face and you acknowledge me. See, our biggest problem in this flesh is we be more worried about ourselves and not the man who died for you and created you in his image so that you can live with him. Paul made a plain statement in his epistle to the Corinthians. He said, if we have to judge that one has died, then we judge that we all have died, and henceforth we no longer live for ourselves. I've told y'all that numerous times. There is no way any of us are going to be saved if we are concerned with living for ourselves. Your whole thought process should be living for your Elohim from the time you open your eyes to the time you close them, and even when you're asleep. That should be your whole objective for the remainder of your physical existence. The whole time Yahushua was on the earth, his only concern was living for his Father. That was it. Does that mean that you can't do things of the human existence? No, that's not what that means. But that means every single solitary thing you do, Yahuwah come first every time. You don't live for you. You ain't seeking to please yourself. You're not seeking to do that. See, this is what happens when you actually learn to become Elohim or become Mashiach or be born again. You understand the whole point of the game is to do what he did. What did he tell his apostles after he washed their feet?
I be your master, serve you.
He said, if I be your Lord and master and I've washed your feet, you ought to do what?
Do it to one another.
Wash one another's feet, right? And he said after that, blessed are ye if you do this. Now that's what we're looking at right here in 1 Peter. If you can learn to serve each other, then you can learn the power of Elohim. Because this is what Yahushua. How many of y'all would really sit and think back that God would come down here and wash your feet? Because at the end of the day, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? Not just a regular dude who you thought, man, that's a good dude. Your God came down here and washed your feet. You know what I'm saying? Let that wrap that in your brain. I created you. I created the heavens. I created the earth, the waters, the birds, the goats, and all that. And I came down here and washed your feet. So when you see that and you understand the level of humility that it would take for God himself to wash a man's feet, then you can see why you ain't got no business living for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You will see how you would live for him. Because if this man was manifested in the flesh right now and we were counted as his apostles, that man would have went around here and washed our feet.
And like other kings, they wouldn't even dare to wash nobody's feet. They like, I'm a king, nobody touch nobody's feet.
Yeah, I mean in most cultures, maybe in ours all of them would have did that. But for the most part, we know every king of Yasharal would have said that. Not washing their feet. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Josiah and Hezekiah would have been like, shoot, come on around here. I got you. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna throw all of them under the bus. You know, King David strike me, he might have did it. You know what I'm saying? Solomon might have did it too. You know why they might have did it? Because all the men we just mentioned were focused on one thing, and that was serving. See, niggas don't be wanting to serve. Niggas want to be served. That's the conversation we're gonna have with you gentlemen later. Nevertheless. 1 Peter 5 and 5. Likewise, ye younger, submit your... Come on, dude. That junk don't even be real, B. Just go get in the bed. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another. Be clothed with humility. For Elohim resist the proud, and give con to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Elohim, that he may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care upon him, for he care for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walk about seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. Now pause. Now we're going to take it and we're going to flip the taskmasters and being afflicted with burdens to a whole nother conversation. Now who got an idea what conversation we were turning to now? Based off what we just looked at in Peter. Because we've established the taskmaster can be Satan afflicting you with the desires of your flesh by presenting temptation in your face. Now let's turn around and flip it here. He said you need to resist them steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren in the world. So now how do we turn around and look at this from another angle? What is the taskmaster now? What is the affliction now?
Again, persecuted for righteousness' sake.
You could get persecuted for righteousness' sake or just simply tribulation. The things that you would have to suffer for the gospel's sake. Let's take a look at that. I want to say 1 Corinthians chapter 4. Now this is dealing with somebody who preaches. But these same troubles can be accomplished in anybody. Let me make sure it's chapter 4 before I have y'all. Yes, it is. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 9. I give everybody a moment. See, I can say I'm taking my time because we're going to try to look at some things from multiple different angles. So y'all will and get to the crescendo, to the apex, if you will. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 9. For I think that Elohim has set forth the apostles last, as it were appointed to death, for we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to Malachim and to men. We are fools for Mashiach's sake, but ye are wise in Mashiach. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. But even unto this present hour we both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place. And labor, working with our own hands, being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as filth of the world, and are offscourings of all things unto this day. Paul made a statement. This man say, I ain't got no certain dwelling place. Another place, this man say, I was in peril of robbers, of my own countrymen. Now the same token, I just didn't pick Romans chapter 8, right? But he said, you know, you suffer tribulation for the word. He said, not distress, not persecution, not the sword, not famine. See, when he's telling you that certain afflictions are going on in your brethren that are in the world, you think if you going through something, you the only person in the world that's going through that? You think it just rained on your house and nobody else's? So you think if you going through hard times, you think ain't nobody else doing it? You think ain't nobody else being afflicted with persecution? But guess the whole key thing that you got to do. It's the case in point of what I told y'all the other day, right? How can a nigga sit down in a setting where you having a convocation and can recite script right back to you, but when it come time to stand on the word, the nigga can't remember the word? This is why he say to resist. Who resisted Satan steadfast in the faith? This is an easy question. Resisted him steadfast in the faith. And guess what? But see, Satan didn't come to Job directly, but he did resist him steadfast in the face. You are correct on that. So I'm just dealing with the direct, because you're absolutely correct, because he definitely did that. So when you look at YAHUAH, right, he came to him Satan came to him and tempted him when he was what? Weak. When he was hungry. And he came and tempted him with the things that the flesh would want. So he was coming to try to afflict him with a burden. And tried to use those things that he tempted him with as his taskmaster. Or compulsory force. Because you know you're hungry. You know you're the son of God. Go ahead and turn that bread into stone. You know you can do it. Go ahead and show me you can do it. But what he did is he trusted Yahuwah so much that in the midst of temptation, he was able to recite them same script right back to him. Come on, man. You know you only serve Yahuwah Elohim. Man don't live off the bread alone, but every word that proceed off the mouth of Elohim. Thou shalt not tempt Yahuwah Elohim. See, that's the meaning when you resist steadfast in the faith. You remember the word in the midst of temptation where sin is knocking at the door. See, niggas will sit back and say, oh, that's such and such. That's such and such. Get outside these doors. Nigga don't remember none of that. You a wicked bastard. I tell you to your face. It don't make no difference. I tell your mama. I write it in a telegram. Don't make no bit of difference. Because that don't make no sense. How can you sit back and you can remember the word when it's time to just have a conversation about the word, but you can't remember it when you need it the most? It gotta be. I ask you a question, right? It's a lot of men in here married. This book say you supposed to love your wife as you love Mashiach. Do you? I mean, you supposed to love your wife as Mashiach loved his. Do you remember that every minute of every single day you breathing to do that? You know what I'm saying? Or can you just recite it back? But do you remember it at the times when your patience is short? To remember that this man had long patience for his wife when she was getting on his last nerve. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember that this man went all out? It's like this here, right? This man sacrificed his life for his wife. So it didn't matter what he had to lose or what he had to do for his wife, as long as his wife was straight. Do we remember to do that? You know what I'm saying? That's the question. Do we remember to do that? Or do we get caught up on, I'm tired, or I want to do this, I want to do that, I don't feel like doing this? Because Yahushua never said that. Because I'm saying that for the same reason that I told the women last night. If you disrespect your husband, you just disrespected the Lord. You wouldn't disrespect Yahushua to his face. You wouldn't lift your voice up to him. You wouldn't say something to him that was out the way. You wouldn't do it. But at the same token, as a man, you supposed to ride for her the same way he rode for his. In every capacity, in every way. We can't just sit back and look at that woman supposed to submit. Boy, it's a lot of things man supposed to carry. Yahushua carried it all with no hesitation and no problem and no complaints. It delighted his heart to do it. It delighted his heart to do it. Delighted his heart to do it. How many of y'all feel just like this here, right? I know sometimes you don't feel like getting up to go to work, but it delighted Yahushua to get up to go to work for his wife. Now, of course, we know naturally you sit back and look at, boy, I'm tired of going to look at these crackers in the face. I want to stay in the bed. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that man sat back and looked at it. If I don't do this work, my wife gonna perish. I gotta go. I gotta go. And all I'm talking about is taking on his mind. When you take on his mind, his essence will dwell within you and you will live forever. That's the point. Ain't that the point? That's the point. Where we were going at? Come on back to Exodus 14. We got to sit back and see how they were born of water. Y'all already know what it is, but we going to read it though. I ain't got much conversation for you today. I ain't got nothing but some book. I ain't got nothing but some book for you today. That's all they need anyway. 14 and 20, Exodus.
Oh yeah. One of the same.
Exodus 14 and 20. Make it 14 and 9. Make it 14 and 18. Exodus 14 and 18. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahuwah when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh and upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. That means I got to get honor. Spiritually, how did he pull this off? Don't worry. We're going to get there. I just wanted to see if anybody knew ahead of time. You know what I'm
How Pharaoh got honor? Oh, you said how Yahuwah got honor?
How he got honor?
From Pharaoh?
I said spiritually. How did he get honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots? What is a chariot? It's a vehicle. And his horsemen. Who are his horsemen? That be his minions or his soldiers, right? Anybody got an idea? It's all right if you don't, because I'm going to work my way to it.
We looking at the adversary being Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm. How did he get his honor? Upon Pharaoh. He said resist and sin. Anybody else?
Pharaoh's like, take your people and go and serve your will.
You got something for me?
Not spiritually, but
No, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I'm just trying to see where you at, because I got something for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to see where you at. I'm just trying to see where your thoughts at. Try to get your sails warm. Spark your sails. You know, make your sails get warm. I'm not a gentleman. I'm a method man. You don't know about that, so I'm doing. I'll play it for you later. You ready for it? I'm ready for it. Here you go. Verse 19. And the Malachim Elohim, which went before the camp of Yasharal, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Mizraim and the camp of Yasharal, and it was a cloud of darkness to them. Yo. I can't talk over all y'all. I promise I can't.
Hey, sit down.
And it came between the camp of Mizraim and the camp of Yasharal, and there was a cloud of darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that that the one come not near the other all the night. Now pause, And we gonna work it, right? It said that the cloud came behind the camp by night, right? So the children of YAHUAH had light in the midst of darkness. That's what it's telling you. Now hold what you got and come on over here to Luke 23. I know your niggas better leave me some bread, cause you know good bastards ain't leave me no bread last night, and I definitely appreciate that. I said it, and I'll fight about it too. I know it was. I screw all of you niggas.
I feel bad.
Y'all ain't think nothing about it, nigga. Boy, I see how y'all feel about me, boy. God.
I said everybody
Niggas.
No, I let him tell me.
Niggas, man. I thought y'all loved the nigga, man. I see how you feel. Niggas say, screw that nigga. That bread is up for grabs.
bread good now.
You know what I'm saying? Get it now.
Right, you better get it now.
Golly. I'm talking about, boy, I give y'all good sweet bread. Nigga can't leave me no bread. What how niggas feel about niggas, boy? I tell you. You know what I mean? All right. Hey, who doing all that crying? Hey, boy. Hey. Well, somebody give him some food. Somebody give him some food. Oh my God! Somebody get it before he throw it.
Alright, stop. What are you doing?
Hold on, y'all. Let him put Mara in the bed before I hit this note. Before I hit this note. I'm gonna hit this note. And then hit this note. Luke 23:44. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all their rats until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Yahushua cried with a loud voice, he said, Abba, into thy hands I commend my Ruach. And having said thus, he gave up the Ruach. Does anybody remember the point that we pulled out of that Luke 23 that we dealt with earlier this week? When he said, in thy hand I commend thy Ruach, my Ruach. Does anybody remember the point that we pulled out of that? That was in Psalms. But I'm not talking about where it was at. I'm talking about the concept, the point. He put his life in his father's hands. He put his life in his father's hands. He put his breath in his father's hands, knowing that his father would give that breath back because of his obedience, because of his humility. That boy don't seem to do that till we start too. With the nigga don't whine till the time nigga say y'all trying to sit down and be quiet. Y'all having a good time and I'ma ruin it. Yeah, I know. It's been a long day for me. It's been a long day. It's 10 o'clock. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a long day. So, when we look at that, right, now we look at it in Exodus, right, it said that it was dark to the sinners, right? Now, what did these people cry out while it was dark, while this man was on the stage? They said, go ahead and let his sin be on our children's children and all that good stuff. So it wasn't light for them. But let's swing back over here to John chapter 11, verse 9. Make that John 11 and 4. When Yahushua heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the esteem of Elohim, the son of Elohim might be esteemed thereby. Notice that this is one of the rare times he told somebody he was the son of Elohim. Before his resurrection. He didn't tell people that too many times. Now Yahushua loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And when he heard therefore that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that he said to his disciples, let us go into YAHUAH again. His disciples said unto him, Master, the Yahudim of late sought to stone thee, and go thou thither again? Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumble not, because he see the light of the world. He said, but if a man walk in the night, he stumbled, because there is no light in him. Now, didn't it tell you that the Egyptians couldn't see where they were going? But YAHUAH could see where they were going. So guess what? Everybody who was standing out there that day when that man got crucified on that tree, even though it was dark, those that believed, they could see where they were going. See, I'm going to tell y'all something, right? I'm going to just be honest. A lot of people who stumble from this word for wherever they be at. I ain't talking about people we just know. I'm talking about period. Them niggas stumble because they were never seeing the light of the world. Let's see why they weren't seeing the light of the world. 1 John 3:3. Let's go ahead and see why they weren't seeing it. Make that 3:3. 3:3 is fine. And every man that have this hope in him purify himself even as he is pure. Whosoever commits sin transgress also the Torah. For sin is transgression of the Torah. And you know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Whosoever abide in him sin not. Whosoever sin have not seen him, neither known him. So people are not seeing the light of eternal life because of the sin that dwells in them. Because too many individuals are too concerned about going their own direction, so they stumble in the day. Do you know how funny that got to be to see somebody who can't see where they going at in the daytime? You know how dumb you got to be that you can't see where you going in the daytime? It's light outside. It's light outside. You still can't see where you going? You know why people can't see where they going when they stumbling in the daytime? It's because they're more concerned about fulfilling their own will and doing their own thing and having their own way. That's what people's problem is. Back to Exodus chapter 14. Children, y'all need to be quiet. Quiet. It's not conversation time. You had all day to conversate. (14 to 21). Exodus. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuwah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Yasharal went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all of Pharaoh's houses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, Yahuwah looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of the fire and the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, and that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Yasharal, for Yahuwah fight for them against the Egyptians. And Yahuwah said unto Moses and all the children of Yasharal, at even you shall know that Yahuwah have brought you out of the land of Mizraim. Now, what happened to the Egyptians' army? What happened to them? They drowned. But now I want you to focus on this point. What does the dry ground mean to you?
The seed landing on the ground.
You say the seed
Landing on the ground.
landing on the ground?
Landing on the fallow ground.
Landing on the fallow ground. Anybody else? What does that dry? The children of Yasharal went across what? The dry ground, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that dry ground mean to you? It's something we done talked about recently too.
I want to get it.
Anybody got any idea? Anybody want to roll the dice and throw something out there? What does the dry ground mean? The children of Yasharal went on the dry ground. Pharaoh's army went on the dry ground too, didn't they? But they got drowned. Now we dealing with Yahuwah say he was going to get honor upon Pharaoh and his chariots and his horsemen. Now what does the dry ground mean? Anybody got it? Anybody want to take a shot at it? You say the spirit? Security? What you say?
If I was to roll the dice,
Roll it.
shake them up, I'll say,
Roll it.
That nigga probably.
hey, I'll say something like, it also, the flesh is the dry ground and the water is the ruah.
Okay. Anybody else want to roll the dice? Dry ground?
Shake them up,
You were-
I already said what I thought.
You say, what does that dry ground mean? Children of Yasharal went across dry ground.
It is establishing of the people. We talking about water in the ruah.
Very well then. Let's look at dry ground. You want to look at dry ground? Let's look at dry ground. Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9. And after that, Isaiah chapter 44. You say the valley of death?
First of all, it says,
Oh, it's one of the 20s. I know I started at 19. When I get back to the page, I can be more accurate for you, sir. Because that didn't help you at all. Make that 9 and 11. Zechariah 9 and 11. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent thee forth thy prisoners out of the pit where there was no water. Now, what was the covenant? What blood got shed when you came out of Egypt?
The Egyptians.
The Egyptians' blood. So when he taking you through this sea, what does it end up becoming? A pit where there was no water, because he caused it to go back, and he caused it to go back by the blood of a covenant. There wasn't no water there. Let's go to Isaiah 44. After Isaiah 44, what direction do we want to take it? Do I want to? John 18. Isaiah 44 and verse 1. Leah, come get your hat off this floor. Thank you. Give it to your mommy. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Yasharal, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahuwah that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Which will help thee. That's the key thing. You got to sit back and look at them crossing that Red Sea. Did he not help them? Did we not just look at something the other day about him being a succorer, an aid, a help, and a relief? See, this man's not going to help you if you don't trust him. That's why he told you to resist steadfast in the faith. He will help you. He is a man of his word.
Verse 44
and 2. And thou, Yesharon, fear not, O Jacob, my servant, thou, Yesharon, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him as thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my ruach upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thy offspring. Now, did he pour waters on the dry ground in Exodus 14? He did. He poured it on Pharaoh's army so he could get honor on Pharaoh, correct? Because Pharaoh was dead after that. And his whole team. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So let's go over to, what I said, John 18. Let's go to John 18. (18 to 12). I always forget that that's John 18, where it states plainly that with Peter pulling that sword out. Forget it every time. 18 to 12. Then the band and the captain and the officers of the Yahudim took Yahushua and bound him. And they led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Capheus, which was high priest that same year. Now Capheus was he which gave counsel to the Yahudim that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. He said it was needful. Now I read that for a reason, and we're going to move along. When Yahushua got killed, we just dealt with it, so I'm not going to spend the time to actually read it. When Yahushua got killed and they took his body off the tree, what happened? And I need specifics. When they took Yahushua's bodies off of that tree, what happened?
It went dark.
It didn't go dark when they took his body off that tree. Somebody came. Who came? Joseph of what? Of Arithmia. What did Joseph do?
Buried in the field.
He buried, but before he buried him in the field, what did he do? He wrapped his body, and then he put him where? In the sepulcher, what you mentioned. Can we agree that that sepulcher was a dry ground?
Yeah, because no man ever been laid in it.
No man ever been laid in. Was there any water? Why was there no water in that sepulcher?
It was similitude of like Joseph.
Genesis 29.
No, because nobody's ever been resurrected from the dead.
Yeah.
Nobody. Anybody ever been resurrected from the dead? No, I'm talking about not by Elohim himself and never die again. Because Lazarus got resurrected from the dead and died again. He died again, didn't he?
Yeah. Everybody that resurrected.
Everybody who's been resurrected from the dead, they still died again. Even the man who died at the time of Elisha, they threw him in that cave where that bones was at, and he touched him and he lived. But guess what? Later on down the line, that nigga died.
Yeah, and that just.
He died. What did Yahushua say? I am him that live and what?
Live forevermore.
He said, I live, and then after that, what did he say? He said, I live, and after that, what did he say? I die, and I live forevermore. He told you I was alive. He had the first part. That's why I kept going, because he gave me the first one, but he didn't give me the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? He lived, he died, then he said, I live forever. So when they put him in that pit, that was a tomb of dry ground. Because you got to understand, son, as the people of YAHUAH, we never lived as a nation before. We were nothing. We were nobody. You were not alive yet. You were still being brought up out of your bondage from the afflictions of the burdens from your taskmasters. Now you're being set free. Yahushua was afflicted by what burden? He became sin or death. Who was his taskmaster? It was his father. He had a compulsory service. He had a labor he had to perform. So when we turn around and we look at Yahuwah getting honor on Pharaoh and destroying his army, now we need to swing back to John 16. We just talked about this recently too. John 16:7, and then we swing ourselves back to Revelation chapter 12. Oh, that's Abigail. John 16:7, well 16:8. And when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment. Of sin, because they believe not on me. Of righteousness, because I go to my Abba and you see me no more. Of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. Was Pharaoh the prince of the world at that time? Was he not judged? So did not Yahuwah, when Yahushua got up on his stake and died and resurrected from the dead, did he not get honor on his name by drowning Pharaoh and his chariots and his horsemen, just like he did to Pharaoh then with Satan? Now let's go to Revelation chapter 12 and let's go on even harder with it. So the reason why we pointed that out is that if he'd taken the painstaking purpose to do this, and this is also, we already know that the flood, the crossing of the Red Sea is a similitude to what? Baptism. And if it's a similitude to baptism, then what is it a similitude of?
Being born again.
Being born again. So if you got baptized, then guess what? When you came up out of that water, that was supposed to be a similitude of Yahuwah getting honor on Satan because you have conquered him by faith in his son. That's why you ain't got no business being stupid. He said, who is him that contained? He said, who has overcome the world? But he that believed in Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the victory, even our faith. Who was him that overcame the world during the time of Pharaoh? Them that believed in Yahuwah by putting the blood on the over their house, and they came out and they attained the victory, and y'all got honor on Satan's name. Do you not realize when you're born again and you say stand steadfast in the faith by resisting the devil, that Yahuwah is getting honor on Satan through you? Because he's being trampled and destroyed. See, we don't understand. That's my point. Don't recite me back no book and you can't recite it in your heart when it's time to stand firm in the face of temptation. That's lame and hypocritical. Nobody want to hear that. Don't nobody want to hear that. Boy, I seen bro in the street. Boy, he out there with them hoes. Boy, I seen like this. Nobody want to hear that. Then you come around and nigga and act like it's all sweet. You a wicked bastard. You know what I'm saying? And I just appreciate it if you stand up and just say I'm a wicked bastard. And I'm finna go out here and get loose. That's what you ought to do. You know what I'm saying? Don't halfway serve the man. The man gonna spit you out of his mouth. Halfway service is no service at all. What he told you in Matthew 15, they worship me in what? Vain. You don't want to be right, and worship means to bow down. So you bowing down, praying, and you keeping feast days and Sabbath, all for nothing, because you're wicked, because you follow the commandments and precepts of men. And what is that commandment and precept of man? The following of your own heart. The following of your own heart. Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to talk to y'all a little later, but at the end of the day, that's all I was trying to make sure that y'all caught. Who cares about nail polish? What does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. Who cares about all that other stuff? The point of the matter is to make sure that you live for your Elohim. That you don't serve him for nothing. All that other stuff don't matter. It's insignificant. You know what I'm saying? That's why he said, you know what? I'm going to strip this from y'all because it's insignificant. You need to understand how insignificant it is. So what if you can adorn yourself with all of this, but you can't be adorned with me? How beautiful are you? That book say a virtuous woman who can find her value is above rubies. Y'all ever seen rubies? You ever seen a ruby before? You ever seen one? You seen a ruby before? That's a beautiful gemstone. And that's what he said a virtuous woman is. So So when you clothe with that spirit of Elohim, and remember, we can take a virtuous woman and apply it to the men as far as that you in the body of Mashiach, so therefore you would be his wife, and you would need to be a virtuous woman as well. Then you want to make sure you adorn yourself with his spirit so you can be beautiful and not worrying about the things of this life which pass away. Guess what? Nail polish fades away. Clothes get moth-eaten and go away. But the Ruach of Elohim is forever. That's the point. That's the whole point. That's what niggas be missing when I be having conversations with niggas about this, because you worrying about all this other stuff and you missing the point. The point is focus on him. Who cares about all of that? Me personally, nigga, I don't care about none of that. Do you know what I'm saying? But I care about your soul though. You know what I'm saying? That's what I care about. I don't care about all that stuff. I ain't never care about none of that stuff. Who cares about nail polish? Is that a real? If you think of dealing with the word, that's something niggas sit. I'm gonna go tell these women they can't do this and tell this. Who cares? Who's thinking about that? Well, we think about it. Make sure this woman, this man, this child is clothed with the Ruach of Elohim, so that we can all see each other walk through one of them gates. Not all this stupid stuff out here, man. I ain't did this in a while. But see, the windows is closed. But that man told you in Isaiah, look at the heavens above and the earth beneath. Because the heavens will wax old like a garment and the earth will be burned up in like manner. So all this stuff a nigga be talking about and worrying about means absolutely nothing compared to your salvation. It means absolutely nothing. It's minuscule. And that's what he meant, Touche, when he meant on you making yourself fair was worthless conduct. Because it was conduct that was not going to make you fair in his eyesight. That was his point. That's what he was concerned with. Not that you're worthless because you're beautifying yourself. You're beautifying yourself for you, but you're not beautifying yourself for me. So it's vain to him. You know what I'm saying? The same way niggas get out here, okay, you grind, you made all this money, this, that, then the third, but you didn't labor for me. So it was vain to him. Because you forgot about him. We ain't got no business forgetting about this man. He ain't forget about you. He said you inscribed on the palms of his hands. He ain't forgot about you. But we forget about him days without number. Ain't that what he said? That's what he said. So we need to make sure you remember this man. Don't you know this man say he keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. If your mind is stayed on you, who according to the book, what that mean? You trust in him. If your mind ain't stayed on him, it's because you don't trust in him. You trust yourself. That's why he say your God is your belly. You mind earthly things. Who end is destruction, and that is their shame. But we are persuaded of better things of that than you. So the things pertaining to salvation, that's what we speak. See, a wicked nigga's not going to hear that. They just going to hear restrictions. You know what I'm saying? That's all. He always telling people he going to hell. Because you going, cuz. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You don't want to amend your behavior like he told you in the book of Jeremiah. You like what you doing. You like being a fraud. I hate fake niggas. They make my soul sick. You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
I feel you, my nigga. I ain't with that. I'm talking about, and when I say that, meaning being inauthentic to what it is that who you are or what you profess to represent. That's it. That's what I mean when I say somebody's fake. That's not who you are. And you're pretending to be someone you're not. Or you say you represent this, but that's not what you represent. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect that. How could you? Look at right. If you say I smoke crack, shoot, I respect you. You smoke crack. That's what you represent. But you ain't gonna tell me you a preacher man and you smoke crack. I don't respect that. Don't tell me I'm a faithful, loyal husband and you hitting hoes all around the world. And you ain't got to be in the world for that. You know what I mean? The word for that. I'm just talking about what you say you represent. If you say you represent something, then rep it all the time. If not, just keep that junk to yourself, man. Where we at? Revelation 12. What we need, man? We need verse 3, man. Darius, you do me a favor.
Yeah.
You pull that water out of 12 and 1. You pull that water out of that fridge for me, please. Thank you, sir. It's in that bottle. Water bottle. Thank you, sir. That's all, man. Just be about what you're talking about. That's all you got to do. You want to laugh.
I need a cold beverage.
Cold beverage. I need an adult beverage. You know what adult beverage is? That beverage is I don't drink. Somebody said they need an adult beverage. That's the stuff that make your head look light. Look light.
Miller High Life.
Miller High Life. Boy, that nigga bought Miller High Life, boy. Hey, Jughead.
So you know he down bad.
That nigga say nigga tried to murk him the other night. Said nigga got popped on his breezeway. Say he walking down the breezeway going to the house. Nigga ran up on him like, he said, no, that ain't him. I said, woo. I said, boy, pray the Lamb, boy.
You ain't right.
No, I'm that too, but on top of, sometimes niggas just see a nigga and they think that's the nigga and just gone and then, oh, that's the wrong dude. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, that's why I say pray the Lamb, boy. Nigga could clip you. He said them boys were walking up and down that breezeway looking for who shot their homeboy. Thought it was him. He said, I gotta get from out here, bro. I said, I know you do. I told you shouldn't have moved out there when you went. He said, there appeared a great wonder in Shamahim, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being birthed, being with child, cried, travailing in pain, paying to be delivered. Let me ask y'all a question. How does that relate to Exodus? Woman being pain with child, crying out, waiting to be delivered.
We came from the doorpost.
You came from the bondage, right? And what were they doing when they were in bondage? They were crying out, and they were ready to be delivered or removed from that situation. See, right now, right? I would have hoped every one of you at some point in time would have cried out to Yahuwah to be delivered. And I ain't talking about be delivered from, Lord, remove this stronghold of this, that, then the third. Because the word the only thing going to remove a stronghold. I told you the other night, I tell you again, shit, if a nigga ain't acting right and they talking about pray for him, what you supposed to pray for him? Let y'all knock that nigga upside his head. Bust that nigga upside his head. You pray y'all, you chasten and rebuke that nigga with fury like no one has ever seen. You know what I'm saying? For the purpose of, that's the only way it's going to get up out you. Chastisement of Yahuwah is a blessed thing. It ain't nothing. That man says, as many as I love, he do what? I chasten and rebuke. Therefore be zealous and repent. We'll tell him what zealous mean in Hebrew. He went on, he taught y'all that before. Tell him what it mean in Hebrew with. You remember? You taught it.
You said zealous?
Zealous.
Oh, that was when I did the numbers with the man. Fingers. I'm trying to think what it meant though.
I remember. You remember? You taught it. I don't feel bad. I don't remember a lot of stuff after I teach it, so I ain't mad at you.
I'm trying to
I ain't mad. I've been busting your balls.
No. What was it?
It would to be jealous.
Yeah.
To be jealous over Allah.
Yeah, so you're right.
Jealous for his word. Jealous for his righteousness. Jealous for his name. That's what Elijah said, right? He said, I've been jealous over the name of you. They've been killing your prophets, forsaking your law, and worshiping other God. I was jealous for your name. If you're going to be rebuked and chastened, when you repent, you got to be jealous for the name of Yahuwah. Jealous for it. Ain't going to let nobody trample it down. Ain't that right? Can't let nobody do that. That ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't cool.
Man, I remember that. When you said it,
I already know you, boy. Shoot, don't forget that. When I say I forget stuff after I teach you, boy.
Huh?
Yeah, well, you had a jogging.
I remember it though.
Let's look at verse 3, right?
Man.
And there appeared another wonder in Shamahim, and behold, a great red serpent, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of Shamahim, and did cast them to their rats. And the serpent stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Was that not what Pharaoh was doing? Look what it said though. But she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to under Elohim and to his throne. And the woman fled where? Into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared to Elohim, that they should feed her there 1,203 score days. This same thing happened for us, right? And there was war in Shamahim, and Mikael and his Malachim fought against the serpent, and the serpent fought and his Malachim and prevailed not, neither was there any place any more in Shamahim. And that great serpent was cast out, that old serpent called the devil. King and Muffin, don't even start. Don't even start. I see y'all getting ready to crank up. Go ahead and idle it down. Just take the key out the ignition.
That boy said, idle down. That means just the radio on.
He say, and the great serpent was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Hashatan. which deceived the whole world. He was cast into their rats, and his malachim were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in Shamahim, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Mashiach, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before Elohim day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. So what do we see that there? Because we see Hashatan being cast out and being prevailed on. Did he not seek to make war with us? Did he prevail? He was cast out. He was destroyed. And Yah made a place for his people to go in safety. Because of the affliction. Because of the oppression. Because of the burden. Now we done already established, looking at how Yah got honor on Hashatan, was Yahushua actually dying. The same way that he got honor on Pharaoh by killing him. Because once Yahushua died, say, what did he tell his disciples? He said, in the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. What did he say after be of good cheer?
Overcome the world.
I have overcome the world. I have defeated the world. That's why I focus on the part with the dry ground. See, when they went through the dry ground and then they went through, guess what ended up happening? They overcame the world because Pharaoh is destroyed. Ain't nothing left for Pharaoh after that is. Pharaoh's done. And now you're free. And you've been redeemed from the transgressions under that covenant, which were not the transgressions of Yasharal, but the transgressions of Egypt. Remember when we talked about that?
That's how it's supposed to be when you baptize.
That's how it's supposed to be when you baptize. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3 for that. Actually, Colossians 2. 2. And after that, 1 Peter 3. Who crying now? Is that Leah? Oh, that's 2. 2 and 9. Oh no, that's definitely not Leah. Who that is crying?
Alright.
Oh, that's Malia. Shoot, after a while, all these niggas cry start to sound the same. Colossians 2 and 9. For in him dwell all the fullness of the Elohim bodily, and you are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power, in whom also you are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Mashiach, buried with him in immersion, where also you are risen with him through the faith of the operation of Elohim, who raised him from the dead. You being dead in your sins and uncircumcision of your flesh, have he quickened together with him, having forgiven all your trespasses. When we look at the book of Yahushua, son of Nun, did he not tell them to everything that your fathers did on the other side of the flood, leave it there? Now, we were talking about this last night, and the information that I saw last night was drastically different from the information that I seen with this in like 2013, 2014, with about the eyebrow arching. When you look and you seen what them niggas actually do, it seems like 99% of women in this day and time walk around with their eyebrows just like that. Serving whores unbeknownst to them. That junk tripped me out. You know what I'm saying? That junk tripped me out. Of how this man one way or another works a way in for him to get worship. He don't care how he get it. He don't care how he go about executing it, as long as he can get it. And that's why you have to know your God, you got to stand in his word, and you have to resist the adversary steadfast in the faith, because he coming for you. Because that's why we went to Pharaoh. Pharaoh was trying to devour you. He was trying to devour you, to keep you in sin. That's all he wanted to do. Keep you in bondage to him. Keep you oppressed. This is all Satan coming after you for, to keep you oppressed and in bondage to him, because he don't want you to stop serving him. He said Pharaoh refused to do what? Let them go. It said the same thing in the book of Joel, that the people refuse to let the children of Yasharal go, because they want to keep you in bondage. This is why sinners don't want to let you go, and then we be too stupid to let the people go who try to keep you a slave. How can a free person be friends with a slave? Like, you sit there and you think about that. Not even on a spiritual level. How can a free person be friends with a slave? Don't you know the person who was a slave going to continually try to convince you to be a slave with them because of their mindset? What did any of y'all know the quote from Harriet Tubman, what she said? If they knew they were slaves. Now you think about that. This was a free woman who had the mentality of, I must be free and to free others. And these niggas were slaves. And all they wanted to do was stay in bondage. So she couldn't even convince them that they were in bondage, and they thought she was the idiot. Now, I don't know, like I said, they stated that Birth of a Nation wasn't historically accurate, but historically, that's what happened in Nat Turner. Them niggas were slaves, and he was trying to assist people who had a mentality of a slave. It cost him his life. It cost him his life. Now, when you look at the word, the book tell you, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not, because they are trying to convince you to remain a slave. If you say you free in Mashiach, this person is trying to bring you back into bondage. And if you run across a brew trying to bring you back into bondage by bringing you the bondage of Torah, and no faith, which freed you in the first place. Because the Torah didn't free you. How could the Torah free you when you already had it, dummy? You know, now who knows why the Torah didn't free you? Based on, I ain't even finished Hebrew chapter 9 yet. Matter of fact, we need to go back to Hebrew chapter 9. Because it couldn't forgive the transgressions that were under that first covenant. Therefore, it could never free you. Because you were in debt to the curse of that covenant, which is death. Which we read yesterday, right, in Deuteronomy 30, right? Some people ain't gonna like that nigga against the law. Nah, you against Yah. Take it up with him. I don't care what none of these niggas think or what they got to say. Niggas talk all that trash. Niggas got all their knowledge. Can't teach nobody or they self to stop sinning. Niggas steady screaming, do it to the best of your ability. I ain't serving y'all to the best of my ability. I'm just gonna serve y'all, period. Ain't no best of my ability. Best of my ability leaves room for failure. Leaves room for, if I don't meet the mark, I'm cool with it. In the same breath, tell a nigga repent means miss the mark. But you telling me to serve in the best of my ability. So you giving me room to miss the mark, stupid. You don't see how contradictory such a statement is? You can't even tell these niggas that. Where I stopped at? 9 and 11. But Mashiach become a high priest of good things to come by a greater, more perfect tabernacle not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the Kadesh place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctify to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal Ruach offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim. Do you not realize that was dead works we were doing in Egypt? What were we doing in Egypt giving us life? Nothing. What? Purge your conscience from dead works. Do you not realize that blood that was put on that doorpost was to start the process that couldn't purge your conscience of dead works? How did that blood in the time of Exodus not purge their conscience of dead works? Because it wasn't the faith, it wasn't inward. Because guess what happened? You think the blood that they put on the doorpost would have caused them not to do the sin and the murmuring, the complaining, and the unbelief that was shown forth coming out of Egypt. It didn't purge their conscience from dead works. Because they said we had cucumbers, leeks, and melons. It was better for us. Listen to how dumb that sound. And guess what niggas say? It was fun for me in the world. It was better for me in bondage. So that means he said that you should, he said now you are now ashamed of the things that you once did but didn't bring forth no fruit. Niggas ain't even ashamed to walk around here looking like a hoe. Niggas wasn't ashamed to be walking around here being no whoremonger, no fornicator, or no liar. I seen a nigga around here talking about when you go into Hebrew, fornication don't mean this, that, then the third. In Hebrew it means prostitute or whoredom. Come on, that's semantics, bro. Same thing. Same thing. Niggas say it ain't fornication as long as you have sex and it's not and you don't have a promise to be married. You a wicked bastard. Like, you a wicked bastard, because all you doing is giving niggas license to sling penis. That's what you're doing. That's all you doing. That's all you doing.
Niggas looking for that license.
Niggas looking for that license. Niggas say, I ain't gotta go, I ain't gotta pay, I ain't gotta do what? I ain't gotta be committed.
I can hit it.
I can hit it and not be committed.
Ain't that tight?
That's what they hoping for when they do it. But guess what ends up happening? You going loose to hell. Hey Abby, your hair looks very nice.
Ain't that tight?
Having itching ears.
I mean, it ain't even that there. It's what it comes to, right? And it's
I have itching ears to believe that and go for it.
no. What it's not even necessarily the itching ears. The issue comes from this, and it's a hard balance. Niggas doing that, going through the language, telling niggas, see, you ain't understanding what the text is important. And you got to be careful of it because you don't want to minimalize the importance of actually knowing the language and what's being imparted. But you also don't want to trivialize the point of people's souls on the line, and that's more important than imparting knowledge, cuz. Vain knowledge that don't profit nobody's soul.
The nigga could genuinely be trying to get on.
That's
They
all.
might not have it. They just thinking that's what it is.
That's
they
what
don't know.
they don't know. Because if you look at most of the people of our people, they're more focused on in part. See, you need to study more, or this, that, then, the third. Nobody is concerned with the salvation of anyone's soul. It's more so about who can study the most, who can bring out the most information, the most knowledge, teach the most doctrine, bring the most people in, this, that, then, the third. But yet the people are devoid of the essence of life, which is the Ruach HaKodesh from the living Elohim by way of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. And that's not what's happening. We're not in this just to say I'm a Hebrew. So what? I'm a Hebrew. I could be a dead Hebrew 2 times. I could be a dead Israelite 2 times. I can be dead 2 times with all the... Paul said I can have all knowledge of all revelations, know all prophecies, but if I don't love Elohim, I'm nothing. That junk don't mean nothing. And that's what niggas missing. That junk don't mean nothing. Them garments don't mean nothing. Them names niggas get themselves don't mean nothing. The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding don't mean nothing. Prophecies don't mean nothing if you don't love Yahuwah. If you don't believe in Yahuwah, it don't mean nothing. Verse 15, and for this cause he's the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal life. The first redemption of the transgressions of the first covenant, we dealt with this previously. That was Pharaoh's them transgressions. It brought us the promise of the land. But now we have to be redeemed from the transgressions of the covenant made with Yasharah, which we talked about one of them yesterday. That was breaking that Sabbath. We talked about another one, which was serving other gods. Let's delve into serving other gods just a little bit more. Ezekiel chapter 9. I know ain't nobody but Abigail. Make that Ezekiel chapter 8, actually. Let's look at 8 and 5. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thy eyes now the way towards the north. So I lifted up my eyes towards the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, see thou what thou do? Even the great abominations that the house of Yasharal commit here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn ye yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. He brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then he said unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall, and when I digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Yasharal portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Yasharal, and in the midst of them stood Yazaniah, the son of Shaphan, and every man in his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. And he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Yasharal do in the dark? every man in the chamber of his imagery, for they say Yahuwah seeth not. Yahuwah hath forsaken the earth. See, that's how niggas feel when they out here sinning. See, y'all don't see us. He ain't watching. Now they around here in the dark burning incense to another god. That's what they doing in the house of Elohim when they doing it. He said unto me, turn thou yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahuwah's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Now they standing at Judah's gate, weeping for Tammuz. Do y'all know what just occurred when they were weeping for Tammuz? No, Easter was not weeping for Tammuz. Christmas is not weeping for Tammuz.
What is it, Ash Lent?
That is, it's Lent, it's Ash Wednesday and all that. That's weeping for Tammuz. When you see them people put them crosses on their forehead,
that's tiny.
Cause you know how long Lent is for? 40 days.
40 days.
If you
It's a Fat Tuesday all the way to Good Friday.
and see, that's when they start weeping for Tammuz, cause now he's resurrected from the dead, and now they can jump up and down for Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth. No, they do. That's something different. During Lent, you know what they do during Lent? They give up something because it's supposed to be symbolic of the sacrifice that Yahushua made. And then they relinquish their sacrifice, like when Good Friday comes, and they say, "Yay! Now we're being reborn," because now they're ready because their fertility god is giving birth, and now they can go have an orgy to culminate that we can no longer weep for Tammuz because we've made numerous Tammuz.
Yeah, you see nobody walking around video. I seen that.
Yeah, that's for Ash Wednesday.
I just know people be saying they doing liquor and stuff.
That is in the Catholic Church, but it is Babylonian pagan sun worship. If they Catholic, they do it, and it's all orgy stuff. It's all got to do with orgies. That's why I told y'all that before about what I told you when I heard the lady saying that, oh, these celebrities, he make them have sex with animals and they make them do this here, because that is what pagan worship is about when you study it. It is about debauchery, bestiality, and orgies. Satan is into that. So therefore, during his reveries and his celebrations and his festivals, that's what they do. We've cracked the joke numerous times about Saturnalia. The Romans got drunk, exchanged gifts, went home, beat up their wives, and then had homosexual sex with their friends. That's what the Romans did. They beat up their wives, they exchanged gifts, and had sex with their friends. When you look at Lupercalia, or what you call Valentine's Day, it was a sex orgy day. That's what they did on it. Swinging. Man to man, woman to woman, man on, they didn't care. Man to beast, it didn't matter. And if you actually study pagan worship, not getting into the holidays or nothing, orgies and debauchery is the centerpiece of the whole service. Little debauchery. So that's why when you hear these people say, oh, if they quote unquote an Illuminati or Masons that they have, it shouldn't be far-fetched if you know your God and then you know the gods of the nations and how they operate. All those laws and our law about not performing certain sexual acts is because of the sexual acts of the worshipers of Baal. Baal was another fertility god. If you're dealing with a fertility god, you're dealing with freaks. You're dealing with freaks. They didn't care who they had sex with. Why would our God have to tell us not to have sex with an animal? These people will live having sex with animals and then eating an animal they just had sex with.
Yeah, he had to tell them not to do it because that's what they were seeing when they.
I told y'all this before. Muhammad said if a woman wasn't around, you could knock down a little sheep. You could knock that sheep down.
Better knock it down than the burn.
Better to knock it down than the burn. I got a fire in my loins. I'ma hit little. that's crazy, man.
I'ma hit little Billy.
Little Billy goat. All jokes aside, you got to know your enemy. Why you think so many people got so much problem with lust in their loins? It's already a natural inclination. And then you live in a society, screw us on the TV, it's all manner of sex magic being perpetuated throughout the whole earth. And if you know what magic ain't woo 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 cast a spell. Magic is literally the persuasion to get someone to do something. That's why he told you rebellion is as witchcraft. So it's the matter of persuading someone to do something. Dude named John Todd, and then I'm gonna move on. He claimed he was Illuminati, Satanist, all this stuff. They killed him years ago. That man say every famous recording artist is a witch or a warlock. This his claim. Now, of course, he made these claims in the late 70s, early 80s. So, you know what I'm saying? You got to take it for what it's worth. I don't know what goes on in these industries. I don't work in them. But this man said clear day, they all witches and warlocks. This was here verified. They say they take the master tape, sit it on a pentagram, and pray for as many unclean spirits to enter into that CD or that master as possible. So when they copy it and send it out, boom. Because they say what they try to get the artist to do is to project onto the listener the behavior that they want the listener to partake in.
I thought they said they did that for rock and roll.
Oh, they said they did it for all music.
Yeah, I heard about that for rock
They say
and roll.
they say the publisher do that.
Yeah, the
publisher. Whoever do the final master before it go out.
Now she's correct because probably what she's seen, there wasn't any hip hop. So it wasn't nothing but rock and roll.
But what she was saying, what I seen that the rock and rollers do it on purpose. Like these artists might not necessarily.
That's why I said that's why I stated that the individual who stated this, he stated this in like he's dead. He's been dead for a while. You know what I'm saying? So what it is now versus what he spoke then, can't speak to that.
The artists do it or like the big
No. What he says, the head people do the thing about putting the unclean spirit. But this man was stating, and again, you got to take that this is not in contemporary times when he's making this statement. He was saying that all major artists are witches and warlocks. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take that into account. But what I'm dealing with is they're projecting. I've seen this happen before. I'll never forget this here. Me and my homeboy was in Dollar General. We was in line. A woman was in line with her man. She heard Boys to Men, I'll make love to you, and instantly that woman went to grinding on that man and she was ready to have sex from the hearing of that record. Just like that. But at the point of the matter is how a song can change your mood and cause you to want to do something that you very well may have not thought about doing until you heard that record. It's the same way you can hear a song and it can take you back to a time and a place with a person. Songs can change your moods like that.
I was just gonna say
You got niggas who will not bust a grape in a Fruit Factory or strike a mic match in a blackout and hear certain songs and be ready to fight.
I ain't never heard that one.
What's that?
This nigga said strike a match in a blackout.
I grew up hearing it. You know what I'm saying? Or like this here, right? I had a homeboy who wanted to be a pimp because he heard JT pimping on wax when we were young. Now all of a sudden he a pimp. Before JT pimping on wax came out, he wanted to be a Wu-Tang Clan member. I ain't lying. You know what I'm saying? And I ended with this here because I feel Pimp C when he said this, and I don't care if it's about music or in life, period. If you was a cartoon character on your first album, you need to be a cartoon character on your last. You know what he meant by that? If you gonna be fake, phony, and flawed, then be fake, phony, and flawed the whole time. Don't be walking around here trying to flaw us like you real, cause nigga, we don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? That's why like I said, like growing up for us, you know, when you looking at an MC, that authenticity was everything. So when niggas found out that these niggas, a lot of them niggas wasn't real, that junk affect the whole way you vibe to their music after that. Cause you remember we came up in the process where it was growing and it was building. You know what I'm talking about? So we looking at, boy, you gotta be about that for real. And when niggas found out, oh, this nigga a studio gangster, that junk changed your whole perception. Change your whole perception. You know what I'm saying? See, y'all different. Y'all came up and y'all know it was entertainment. But for us, in the late 80s, early 90s, that wasn't what it was. So now when you sit back and you look at the word and you see it on the Christian side and you see it on the Hebrew side, it seems that it's entertainment. It's entertainment. You know what I'm saying? You got Bruce who putting on shows, man. Shows. Verse 16. I really don't listen to Big that much anymore. Shoot, what you mean no disrespect? Like this here, right? That nigga around here talking about we lived in a one-room shack eating sardines. His mama came out and say, nigga, stop lying on me.
I remember.
His mama came out and say, nigga, stop lying on me. Nigga, you ain't never want for nothing, you lying bastard, you. It sounded real good, but you wasn't living in no one-room shack eating sardines, man.
People who, yeah, he really. That's what I'm talking about.
9 and 15, man.
Flies was so educated.
Hebrew 9 to 15. But guess what though? Okay, now we're gonna move on past that. We're gonna move on past that. I'm gonna end it with this. That's the example of witchcraft. Because he had you around here amped up, ready to do this here, and he ain't doing it himself. And now you around here ready to do all this stuff he talking about, and he ain't doing it himself. Now he done planted that thought in your heart and your spirit to go do something. That's what the dude meant on is witchcraft. And if you study the word rap and where it comes from, that it originates from witchcraft. Yeah, you got to dig for that though. The original definition. Hebrews 9 and 15. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yahuwah's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahuwah, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple of Yahuwah, and their faces towards the east, and they worshiped the sun towards the east. Now you know now what's the main significance of that verse? What's the main significance of that verse, Will? They had their back. They turned their back on Yah. They turned their back on Yah. Let's go over here to Matthew 15 and 20. Make it 15 and 21. Matthew 15 and 21. They turned their back on Yah. Does anybody remember what Hebrew word means perish that we went over recently? You don't? Do you remember, Shayla? We dealt with a Hebrew word that meant perish, probably maybe a month and a half ago, probably 2 months. Who knows? I can't keep track of time. Do you remember what word that was?
I ain't gonna guess. I just looked it up. You want me to say it?
You can say it.
Somebody else guess.
You go ahead, man. You tell me.
I mean,
Nah, you said no, go ahead.
what was it? A bad or bod?
Abad. Which word? And that word was for the English word for lost. In Psalms 119 and 176. Y'all remember we dealt with that period? Y'all remember that? Then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O master, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she cry after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. Now, how was this people destroyed and perished? Who can point it out? What caused them to die? They sins. What caused them to die? He said, because remember, lost means to perish. Abad. We just talked about that's what she just referenced. We just read. He said he wasn't seen but for the perishing sheep of Yasharal, the dying sheep. He has to redeem them. Remember how we read in John already what Kaphia said it was expedient that one man die for the people, that they all die not? In the law, what did Yahuwah say he wanted to do to Yasharal? In Numbers 14 to be specific. Kill him at one man. Why did he want to kill him at one man? Well, what specific sin did they do in Numbers 14 to make him want to kill them? If y'all can remember.
Wasn't they following after somebody else?
No, they weren't following after somebody else in Numbers 14.
Was that the murmur?
They did murmur. What were they murmuring about? They did murmur. Not the manna. Not the manna. They didn't murmur against Moses. Who can remember what went down in Numbers 13? Moses sent some men to go do something. Who can remember?
They got spy out the land.
Spy out the land.
And they was murmuring.
And they were murmuring against the land. They were speaking against the kingdom. Because they say there are giants in there. We won't be able to take. It don't even look like that good of a land. We don't want to fight with people. That's why he wanted to kill them. And so what sin with that murmuring and complaining that they spoke did they really manifest? Disbelief. Who are the first two people that going in the lake?
The false prophets?
No, I'm talking about in
Revelation?
In Revelation. Not the two people as far as physical beings, but people who participate in certain behaviors.
Oh, the fearful.
And let me put it in unbelief.
Yeah, do that.
And guess what? What were those two people? Those people looking at that land, they were what? Fearful and unbelieving. So remember, he has to redeem you from all of these transgressions. See, we just look at the transgressions of idol worship. See, you know why I talked to y'all about the Sabbath yesterday for one reason. For you to realize how serious it is for you to stop doing what you want to do and do what y'all do. Because the whole point, that was the whole point of, because the Sabbath conversation is simplistic until you go to talking about what it's really pointing to. The same reason why we looked at, he said, Sabbath was made for who? Man wasn't made for the Sabbath. Rest was made for man. Man wasn't made for rest. He never, and that, you know what that take you back to? What do you think that take you back to, that statement? If man wasn't made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for man. Rest was made for man. Man wasn't made for rest. What is man made from? So what that take you back to? That take you back to Adam. So that shows you how Adam was never made to live forever. Because he didn't make man for rest. He was made to die. Shabbat is rest. So that means he made Yahushua for man. That was remember, he was slain from what?
The foundation.
So this had already been set. This had already been set. This had already been done. This had already been accomplished in Shamahim. Now we just playing out the play. We just playing out the story. And you better hope you playing your role correctly. And you on the right side of the script and not the left.
Play your role.
Play your role. Y'all remember what the Rock said, right?
Play your role and shut your mouth.
And that's what Yahuwah wants you to do.
I was gonna say, smell what the rock is cooking.
Hey, that's what he used to say. That's what he said. But in the context of what I'm talking about, Stanley hit the nail right on the head. Know your role and shut your mouth. And shut your mouth. You gonna walk up to him. It doesn't matter what your name is.
It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter what you did.
It don't matter what you did. I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta weigh that. You gotta think about that. That's heavy right there, man. You gotta think about that though. Rest or salvation was made for man. Man was not made for salvation. See, we're gonna come back around later and deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Salvation was made for man. Man was not made for salvation. So when you understand that, that goes back to the point where I was telling you earlier that you would focus on living for him who died and rose for you and not living for yourself. Because you were not made to live for yourself. Hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. That's your only job. And his commandments encompass many things. But they all are summed up in two things. And I think we all know what those two things are. Deuteronomy 6 and 4, Leviticus 9 and 17. Love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and all your strength and all your soul and all your might. And love your neighbors, you love yourself. And you do everything contained in this book. You'll do everything contained in this book. It ain't hard. It ain't. Look here, right? It's only hard to not treat people sour when you a sucker. when you a wicked individual, when you a hypocrite. Because 9 times out of 10, you jealous and you coveting and you desiring something that your neighbor has. See, when you love your brother, then you want for your brother what you want for yourself. So if you want good for your brother, you want good for yourself, then you gonna put your nigga on. See, that's all the stuff. That's all the stuff that like that Breakfast Club interview Dame Dash had, and some of the stuff like some people who trying to rebuild Black Wall Street and all the other stuff that people be talking about. That's all they talking about. Like Dame Dash put it like this here. You know how much money it costs to support one of your friends' businesses? Nothing, because all you gotta do is share it on the internet. Don't cost you a dime. Don't cost you a dime. You notice if you got something going on and a nigga don't help promote or support your stuff at any time, they don't really rock with you like that. You know what I'm saying? Do you know how sour it is that niggas got knowledge and understanding and wisdom they can impart to their peers or their friends, and niggas keep it to themselves? Won't even tell a nigga, won't even put a nigga up on game. They don't rock with you like that. You know what I'm saying? A nigga see you messing up, nigga won't even tell you messing up. He want to sit there and watch you bust your face so he can laugh and talk about you later. Nigga don't rock with you like that. You know what I'm saying? Yahuwah don't operate like that. You know when Yahuwah let you bust your face? When I done told you 4 or 5 times and you don't listen, then I'm going to just go ahead and let you do what you want to do. See, that's the difference. See, if I ain't told you and you fell on your face, then I'm a sour nigga because I ain't tell you. But if I done told you 4 or 5 times, boy, don't you do that, don't you do that, well, shoot, nigga, don't even crash that car, nigga. Don't come crying around here when you crash it, neither. I don't want to hear it. Nigga told me I was wrong. He said, you said you let niggas crash. Yeah, I done told you 5, 6 times, nigga. I'm not gonna beg you. Clearly, you want to do what you want to do. Do you know what I'm saying? And don't that's how Yahuwah operate? He tell you good. Shoot, Yahuwah tell you a whole bunch of times before he let you crash. That's how merciful he is. He don't just tell you one time let you crash. He might tell you 15 times. You know how many times he told us to repent before he took you to Babylon?
So you feel like we should do that? Continue to tell him?
I mean, shoot, your length is your length. I can't determine what your length is. You might feel after 3, 4 times, I'm good. I feel like this here. You at least got to do it according to the law. 2 times is the minimum, in my opinion. 2 times is the minimum, in my opinion. 2 times is the minimum. If you want to go past 2, that's your prerogative. But I feel like, because now the matter's been established. I've been witness twice. That's my opinion. There ain't no law in there. That's just my opinion. That's just how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? You might feel like I done been there before, boy. I done stressed myself out doing that. I refuse to do it again. I refuse to do it again. You know what I'm saying? To stress myself out for a nigga when I already know while I'm doing it that this nigga want to do what they want to do. But I don't want you to kill yourself, so I feel like I'm gonna just keep on telling you. And then guess, you know the worst thing I hate when you tell a nigga something that he gonna kill himself. You know the worst thing I hate when they come back to you later and say, boy, you was right, I should have listened. I don't want to hear that, my nigga. Cause what I won't even want you to tell me you should have listened. I just would have rather you took heed to the counsel and amended yourself accordingly and saved yourself from the pain and heartache that you just subjected yourself to for no reason. But you know niggas, we like to learn the hard way. You know niggas. Niggas always say I gotta learn for myself instead of learning from others. It's the onesie, man. It's the onesie. It's alright, Eugene. You slipping and sliding, your daddy just looking at you. He ain't even offering you no comfort. Dang. But let's check this out, right? Matthew chapter 20 and 27. Because I was like this here, I want to set this in the gentleman's brain. Matthew 20 and 26, actually. Because now we're talking about being a ransom and a payment. And then I'm going to take it to that in Job 36 that we looked at yesterday. But we're going to go in depth with it, though. Because it all go together. Praise y'all for the word. I know that. Because without it, where would we be? Some of you niggas probably be in somebody's club. Some of y'all would have been mad at that Jeezy concert last night because all my homeboys were hot.
What, he showed up?
They say he showed up.
He did the same number.
He performed 3 songs and dipped.
Y'all was arguing about the other night?
No, it was more than 3. It about 12.
Yeah, that's what my homeboy said. I don't know.
That nigga probably so high, that's all he remember.
No, he said nigga paid me for a walkthrough, so that's what I did. But I'm just using that as an example that if it wasn't for y'all, some of y'all would have been out there last night.
Jesus?
Some of y'all would have been out there. You say that, but you have no idea where your mind frame or your thoughts would have been at.
I ain't gonna lie though. I ain't gonna lie.
You don't know where your mind and heart would have been
If
at.
I'm full, why not? If I'm full, why not?
I'm talking about the mind frame you had without the word.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I didn't say all of y'all. Some of y'all would have been out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intern.
You gotta think about it. Without the word, your circumstance,
Your circumstances, your
Yeah, you know what I'm
thoughts,
saying?
your
You
desires,
running with.
who you hanging with.
Cause if three of my niggas like we slide. And I got it. Why not?
Why
Ain't
not?
nothing gonna stream. Ain't nothing gonna stream.
Ain't nothing gonna stop you.
Unless you got some booty line though.
Straight up and down. Some of y'all would have had more children from different niggas. Vice versa. Somebody, I'm talking about men and women, who you don't know because you ain't had no, you don't know, without y'all, you don't know where your thoughts or where your heart would have took you to. You just don't know.
I'm just strapped up.
We can, only thing we can say is what we think we would have did. That's the only thing we can say is what we think we would have done.
I think I would have had that strap on, baby.
You could have had, a lot of niggas had that strap on. Still a baby came through. My homegirl just told me the other day, I don't know how that nigga got me pregnant. We had a condom on. Yeah. Clearly he ain't had one on or not tight enough.
That nigga pulled the flea flicker.
No, that nigga snowed what snowed. I take that back. What she said that thing busted.
Oh, tell me something. You know how it happened, nigga. It ain't right.
But point about shoot. Guess what though? All jokes aside, without YAHUAH, some of y'all might not even be here. Literally.
Nigga hit that flea flicker.
Literally. You gotta think about that. You gotta think about that.
Oh no. Not chicken nuggets.
Are you popping out? Is it?
I think you're slipping on the floor.
You gotta think about that. You gotta think about that. You don't know what you be doing. Cause you don't know what your heart desires would be. Doing something to send you to hell.
Straight to hell.
He been holding that all night.
He gave it to me.
Yeah, he been holding Job 36 and 16. You know what he did. Oh, Job 36 and 16. You know what he did. He been waiting on that all night. 36 and 16. Make it 36 and 14. 13. Job 36 and 13. Look, Eugene.
Joe.
Eugene, what it do, baby? They out here watching you slip and slide.
You made the conclusion already.
Oh no.
It's real quiet back there in VIP. Lights low.
Lights low. Them niggas around here got the ambiance back. Y'all don't be back there making no new babies now.
Not in my soul.
Not now. Job 36 and 13. He say, but the hypocrites in the heart heap up wrath. They cry not when he bind them. They die in youth, and their life is among the unclean. He delivered the poor in his affliction and opened their ears in oppression. Now this is what he was seeking to do with us when we came up out of Mizraim. He delivered us in our affliction to open our ear in oppression. Let's see how. Exodus 19. Exodus 19. Exodus 19 and 1. In the third month, when the children of Yasharal were gone forth out of the land of Mizraim, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim and were come to the desert of Sinai and pitched in the wilderness, and there Yasharal camped before the mount. Moses went up unto Elohim, and YAHUAH called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thou shalt say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Yasharal, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Now when he tell you this here, right, he's telling them to open their ear after their affliction and their oppression. And he was trying to open their ear to hear the law in the beginning of it in Exodus chapter 20, which we read yesterday, and we're not going to rehash at this present time. You know what I'm saying? So you have to sit back and think about that, right? Because guess what? The same way y'all can... What is the statement Yahushua used to say all the time? He that have ears to hear, let him hear. See, everybody's ear ain't open. See, just because you sitting here listening, don't mean you hearing. Because if you hearing with the intent to obey. And hearing with the intent to do because you believe it. I done seen a lot of niggas sit down and hear a lot of word and turn right back around and go commit a cavalcade of sins and then have the gall and audacity to say they righteous in the same breath. Shoot, niggas do it every day with no problem. No problem. When you gotta sit back. I said it plenty of times. Sitting here means absolutely nothing if you ain't hearing with the intent to execute what you've heard.
Stop it.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because you sit back and look at it. But when it comes to your soul, you have to have the book tell you to be diligent under your. See a man diligent in his labor, he'll stand before kings. When it comes to you got to have a laser tight focus. You know what I'm talking about? Just like the same token, right? When Yahushua went and prayed, what was his apostles doing? And what he told them? Go ahead and take your rest. Go ahead and sleep on your own life. You want to fall asleep? You that tired? Well, you can't be that tired. Not about your soul. Ain't nothing you got going on. Ain't nothing you did be that tired. Nigga, I be dead tired. I ain't that tired, though. I ain't that tired. I ain't never that tired. Not to sleep on my soul. I ain't never that tired. Straight up and down. I ain't never that tired. Never that tired. Now, you sit there and think about that. You fall asleep on your soul and you never wake up. Then the next time you wake up, you standing before a throne. What's going on? You know what's going on. These books open and your name ain't in it. He definitely told him sleep on, take your rest, didn't he? Matter of fact, you know what the other thing he said to them? Y'all know what else he said to them before he told them, you can't even watch me for 60 minutes, nigga? 60 minutes? That's hard right there. That man said, you can't even watch me for an hour. Y'all know the Hebrew word for watch? That's the guard. You can't even watch with me for an hour. How you going to watch with me for eternity? You can't even watch with me for an hour. That's ugly right there, ain't it? Job 36. Now let's begin to have some fun. Job 36 and 16. Even so he would have removed thee out of the strait into a broad place where there's no straightness. And there should be a set on thy and that which should be set on thy table should be full of fatness. That first word, when he say even so he would have removed, that word is suth. It is spelled C-U-W-T-H. It means to incite or to entice. Now, the characters for that would be what? I'll ask you. I already got them ready, but I'll ask you. Samak is the first. What is the next? The U is the second one. What is the last?
You said soup?
You better say it's T-H. C-U-W-T-H. Yeah, I looked at same tech myself.
It might be. It's a T one. What is that?
Oh, you can't see it. Hey, y'all. Focus now. Pay attention. So you look at Samak. What Samak mean?
That's that little thorn.
That's a little thorn. But it also in this instance, what I have.
I just know the first main off the top. I don't know. That's tit. That's basket. Little thorn.
I ain't go for thorn. I ain't pick thorn.
I know it ain't thorn. That's all I can remember.
I picked turn.
You gotta do it.
And then when you put turn with the ooh, what would you sit back and look at it? You say we go with tar instead of tet?
This time, brother.
Hey, check it. Especially, I'll let y'all know this here too. Y'all, when we ever get a sanctuary, y'all know y'all can't talk in there, right? Y'all do know that, right?
Nah, I ain't know.
Yeah, you can't talk in there. Not the women. So the word means to persuade, to incite, and to allure, and to entice. So for Samat, we use in turn. For ooh, what would you use? It says that at this time we're going to sit back and use the sacrifice of the covenant. So he's removing you from the person who is turning you from the sacrifice of the covenant. Let's take an example of that and go to Galatians chapter 5 and verse 1.
What you doing, Muffy?
Say clearly, sir, I will empty my bladder. Make that Galatians 3, my apologies. O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes YAHUAH HaMashiach have been evidently set forth crucified among you. This only would I learn of you. Received ye the Ruach by the works of Torah, by the hearing of faith. Are you so foolish, having begun in the Ruach, are you not made perfect by the flesh? Have you suffered so many things in vain, if it be yet in vain? He therefore that minister you the Ruach and work miracles among you, do he it by the works of the Torah or by the hearing of faith? Now you know what the point of this is? And because when you look at an individual who's trying to turn you from being joined to the covenant, this is an individual who is trying to entice you by sin. This is why I mentioned that earlier about running with sinners and being joined with sinners and being friends with slaves. Because sinners will entice you, and Solomon told you not to consent to them. Now YAHUAH told you that he sanctified you by the truth, sanctified himself by the truth, that you might be sanctified by it, and to set yourself apart. Now we dealt with going through that water, being born of the water and being born of the Ruach. They were born of the Ruach when Yah gave them that covenant. When he dropped that word on them in Exodus and finished that covenant out for them, that's when they were born of the Ruach. Because they were born of the word. Because after you get immersed, if you hadn't heard the word, you would hear the word and then get immersed to be born of the water and the Ruach. It's not necessarily have to go in that direct order, but it has to be accomplished. So now he's seeking to, so when you look at that, he's trying to turn you, that these people, he's removing you from being turned from a covenant which would bring forth death. He's trying to turn you. This is why the Acts 26 and 16, he say to turn them from Hashatan to Elohim, and from darkness to light, and from the power of Hashatan to the power of Elohim, that they may receive forgiveness of sins from the faith that is in me, or be sanctified by the faith that is in me. Because it's the faith that's in him that will set you apart. Yah is trying to, do you know in the law in Leviticus, right? He told you he severed you from other people that you should be what? Do you know? His. So if this man is calling you out of the world and out of darkness, he's doing this for the purpose of turning you to him and taking you away from people who are trying to turn you away from him. This is why he took you out of Mizraim. Continuing on. So when he told you that even so he removed thee out of the strait, remember we talked about that was the pay. He revealed his word, but then he talked about the sod, which is the sod and the rosh, a narrow, tight, and distressed place. For sod, what would we use?
How you spell it?
T-S-A-R, how you spell the word?
It's two letters.
Two characters.
Sod
and the rosh. For sod, we got the way, the fish hook, the journey, the pull towards, or a harvest, or laying on one side. So on this one here, we'll use pulling towards. To pull you towards the thoughts of the highest. Because this is what remember, it's the pay, right? So it's the revealing of the word. He's trying to remove you from being turned from the sacrifice of the covenant by revealing the words that will pull you towards the thoughts or pull you towards the highest. This is what he did when he brought them out of Mizraim. Did he not? Did he not come out of these people? Let me take you from these people who are trying to turn you from my covenant. Because did not Moses go to him and say, let us go make a feast so we can have a feast under our Elohim so we can enter into a covenant with him? He told him, I'm not taking you. I ain't letting you go over there to do that. And what did Yah do to be able to pull them out? He revealed his commands to him, did he not? Why? They were afflicted and they were distressed. That's what sar means. And so what is he doing? Let me pull you out of your affliction by my thoughts or by my words or by my spirit. Because his thoughts ain't nothing but a spirit. Coming back to it also means the adversary, foe, enemy, and an oppressor. Now he says he does this to pull you into a broad place where there is no straightness and that which should be set. So now we look at the word for that which should be set. It means rest, quietness, quiet attitude, or rest from death. And it's nakath. It's N-A-C-A-T-H. What do you think? It's only 3 characters. What do you think we've come up with? So when you look at the noon, what is that? Life. Kot, you separated. Top, covenant. So it's the covenant that'll separate you to life. This is what he's setting on your table. Now when we turn around and we look at when we come up out of Egypt, right? When we surrounded by death. Let's look at something in Psalms 105. I think it's Psalms 105. Psalms 105 and verse 23. Yasharal also came into Mizraim, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham, and he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. You see how he say he turned their heart to evil? So that they would deal slyly or slickly with his servants. He sent Moses his servant and Aaron whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his words. He turned their waters into blood and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chambers of their kings. He spake, and there came diverse sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts, and he gave them hail for rain and flaming fire in their land. He smote their vines also in their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He spake, and locusts came, caterpillars and that without number. And he did eat up all the herbs in their land, and devour the fruit of their ground. He smote also the firstborn in their land, and the chief of all their strength. He brought them forth also with silver and gold, and there was not one feeble person among their tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them fell upon them. He spread a cloud for a covering and a fire to give light in the night. Now this is what he did to set things on their table. Now what does that sound like to y'all? We looked at it yesterday, matter of fact, what he will do to Babylon. Does he not say he gonna do all this stuff? He said he gonna send locusts on Babylon too, didn't he? He said he gonna send fire on them too. And guess what, right? Didn't he say that the serpent heart would be turned against those who keep the commandments? That he would be wroth with those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. He would be angry. Why? Because Yah is going to do the exact same thing that he did when you came up out of Mizraim. He gonna turn these people's hearts to hate you and to afflict you, and then he will show forth his power upon them. So if you want this stuff to be set on your table, we not even got to the word table yet. If you want this stuff to be set, or for you to get the rest or the quietness, then you're going to have to be separated by the covenant of life. And see, we don't seek to be separated by that because we seek to join to wickedness continually. That seems to what delights us. But let's go to Yahushua chapter 5, because there's a point of that and once I must show about pertaining to rest. Because didn't he say in Hebrews chapter 4, what we read the other day, that if Yahushua son of Nun had given them rest, he wouldn't have spoke of another day? It wouldn't even been no need for him to speak of it. Yahushua chapter 5, pick up verse 7. And their children whom Yahushua raised up in their stead, and the children whom he raised up in their stead, them Yahushua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. Now I'm ask y'all a question. Have they came into the land yet? No, not yet. They about to. They ain't came in there yet. So they about to enter into the kingdom. Really?
When they did the Passover, that was before. I thought it was the same shot to do the Passover.
So they crossed the Jordan, sent the spies into Jericho. They still had made Jericho fall.
Yeah, they crossed the Jordan. They in the land.
But they hadn't possessed it yet.
Oh, you asked for they in the land.
That means you in the land, you possess it. You cannot you shoot. Abraham was in the land. Listen what he tell him, right? And Yahuwah said unto Yahushua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Mizraim from off of you. That goes back to what we read in Colossians. Wherefore the name of this place is called Gilgal unto this day. And the children of Yasharal encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the foot. This is when they kept it. What you talking about? They doing it now.
I just thought when they kept it, it was already.
And it's saying they kept the fort on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, and parched corn in the self same day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Yasharal manna anymore, but they did eat the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. What do y'all think that means right there? The fact that he said they no longer ate the manna, but they ate the fruit of the land.
In the Revelation, it's to that's being in the kingdom.
That what you got for that? Now when they coming in the land, they getting rest too, right? But what? Now he made his. Anybody else got anything they want to throw out there for that? Say after the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land, and they didn't eat manna anymore, but they ate the fruit of the land. Now let me ask y'all the question, right? The manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten the old corn. What precedes Passover during the Feast of Unleavened Bread?
What precedes?
Well, I mean, what comes after?
Pentecost?
No, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
You said what?
Something you have to do during unleavened bread. It happens on
Wave the Shiva?
You wave the sheave, or the waving of what? First fruits. Now it stated here they no longer ate the manna, but they ate the fruit of the land. This fruit of the land is now they coming in to get rest. So what is the manna? What did they get the manna for?
To keep them in the wilderness.
Because they were murmuring and complaining, correct? Now let's take a trip. John chapter 6. Six and 32. Make that 31. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from Shamahim to eat. Then Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from Shamahim, but my Abba give you the true bread from Shamahim. For the bread of Elohim is he which come down from Shamahim and give his life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Master, evermore give us this bread. And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that come to me shall never hunger, and he that believe on me shall never thirst. Now the next thing he stated, right, he said that manna was his what? His body, correct? Now how does this John chapter 6 correlate with Yahushua chapter 5? That they no longer ate the manna on the morrow after the Passover, but ate the fruit of the land. You say New Jerusalem. Shelly, would you like to take a crack at that?
He don't eat of the drink the cup and eat of this till he return and drink the meat that's in the kingdom.
I got you. Do you want to take a crack at that? In Joshua chapter 5, it says that they no longer ate the manna the morrow after the Passover, the morrow after they ate the old corn, but only ate the fruit of the land from that point forward. That's what the only thing that was set on their table or set on their plate. Yahushua just said that he was the manna that came down from Shamahim, and that he was the bread of life, and that bread was his body. How does this go with Joshua chapter 5? Dave, if you want to take a shot at that? The nigga over there asleep? Sound like you're drunk. You want to take a shot at that, Monte? You want to take a shot at that, Will? Joshua chapter 5.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Joshua chapter 5, he says they came into the land on the Passover and they ate the manna. Then they say after that they ate the old corn. And on the morrow after that Passover they no longer ate manna but ate the fruit of the land. Yahushua said his body is the bread of life, or he is the manna that come down from Shamahim, and that bread is his body. How does this go along with Joshua chapter 5? Considering that it means rest or quietness. When they sat down and had this Passover, it was for them to have rest.
Yeah, you gotta eat his body so you can get rest.
But now you say you gotta eat his body, eat rest. They said after that Passover, after that day, they ain't eat this no more.
Yeah. After you eat his body, you don't have to eat it. You eat from the tree to fruit. That's what I said. That's what I said.
Okay, you say tree of life from where?
In the land.
What
they
land?
was in the land. They said they ate the fruit of the land.
Okay, now how that pertain to the master?
Because you gotta eat his body before you can eat of that tree.
Are you positive that that's that tree?
I'm guessing. I'm pretty much. That's what
I'm asking. I'm saying you positive. That's your final answer.
I'm not changing, man. That was you.
Let's look at John chapter 12.
Trying to stir me?
I'm just trying to see how firm he is in your statement.
Ain't got nothing else for it.
You just a little ahead. That's all. Your answer just a little ahead. Right scenario, just a little ahead. Got to do that double time. John 12 and 23. I ain't finna have my calves froze. He ain't nothing but my
It's a little
calves.
hot down there in that cut back there, boy.
12 and 23. Remember, right? What did you have to do on the third day of unleavened bread?
Weigh that sheep.
Weigh that sheep or weigh them first fruits, right? Yahushua answered them, saying, the hour is come that the Son of Man should be esteemed. Truly, truly, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abide alone. But if it die, it bring forth much fruit. So when Yahushua rose from the dead, would that not be fruit? So now you no longer eating this manna because you don't got to eat that no more. You eating the fruit of the land. What is the fruit of the land that you're eating? Galatians chapter 5, verse 20. That baby ain't pleased.
He ain't even crying. That'd be the crazy part. That nigga be full out talking.
Straight up. Get over here now. Hold me. Soothe me. Feed me.
Nah, for real though. Correct me.
He always did that.
You're not moving quick enough. That's an aggressive young man.
You said Galatians 3.
5 and 22.
Okay.
For the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, shalom, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no Torah, and they that are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and the lust. If we live in the Ruach, let us also walk in the Ruach. So you know what that's telling us, right? When you ate the manna, you were eating the manna for what? The manna is symbolizing his body, right? What do we do on the first day of this feast?
According to the book, that's the sacrifice of the lamb.
So you were eating his death. So when you drop a corn of wheat in the ground, if it die, it do what? Bring forth fruit. So when you ate that manna, you would have no need to continue eating this manna year after year, time after time, so to speak, because now you eating the fruit of the land. Goes back to the dry ground we were talking about when they put him in the grave. When he resurrected from the grave, now you were able to be ministered unto with these fruits of this Ruach that we just read, correct? Now you can partake in the love. These are the things he set on your table. This is why he said 1 Corinthians 4 and 20. I did want 4 and 20. I could have cited it, but I'm going to look at it. For the kingdom of Elohim is not in word, but in power. See, that's not the one that I wanted. I think it's in Romans what I wanted. My apologies. See, these feasts ain't about sitting around chewing. You know what I'm saying? It's not in meat and drink, but in power of the Ruach HaKadosh and Elohim. That's what it's about. I can't remember where the place at. We got to continue on. Job 36. It's 11:30. Now the next part he says that he shall sit it on your table, on thy table should be full of fatness. So when we look at that, when you suffering from oppression, but he opens your ear in discipline so that you could return, it was to remove you from sin, to separate you unto his covenant so you could live. That's all it's about. What's all about humbling yourself. So when we come over here to Revelation 22, I think the point has been made. 22 and I'm gonna take 22 and 11. 22 and 11. I hit in the wrong place. I gotta make sure I hit all my words. Oh, we need to look at this where. I knew I missed one. I knew I would miss one. Hold on at Revelation 22. That word for where, when he tell you he going to bring you into a broad place where there is no straightness, that word for where is takav. It's T-A-C-A-T-H. It means the under part, or instead, or for the sake of, or flat, but it also means to be burdened or oppressed. It means to be burdened and oppressed. And basically all it's telling you is it's a covenant that will separate you from oppression. How many of y'all feel like from the time that you supposed to took hold of this man's covenant that you separated from oppression? You feel like you separated from oppression? Who in here don't feel like they separated from oppression? Very well then. Very well. Is that not what Yahushah's job was to do, was to separate you from oppression, to bring you into this wide place? Let me look at son Ezekiel 47. Let me check son Ezekiel 47 real quick. If you separated from oppression, what are you separated from? Ezekiel 47:13. If you separated from oppression, what you separated from? Yeah, because I said what? Yeah, I said what? Probably just didn't hear me. Sorry about that, sir. Sorry about that, sir. Clearly didn't hear. If you separated from oppression, what you separated from? How y'all gonna tell me you feel like you separated from oppression? Not just sin, but you will be separated from the adversary himself. Because who's doing the oppressing? Let's take it back to what we read in Exodus. Who was doing the oppressing? The Egyptians. Setting the taskmasters over you to oppress you. You know what I'm saying? That's why he said he came to deliver them who were being oppressed by the devil. That's what it said in Acts, ain't it? I want y'all to hear this here, because he said a broad place, right? So that's wide. That's pretty large, right? Ezekiel 47:13. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, this shall be the border whereby you shall inherit the land according to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. Joseph shall have 2 portions, and you shall inherit it, one as well as another, concerning the which I lifted up my hand to give it unto your fathers. This land shall fall unto you for inheritance. And this shall be the border of the land towards the north side, from the great sea, the way of Hethlon, as the men go to Zedad, Hamath, and Berotah, Sibaram, which is the border of Damascus, and the border of Hamath, Hazar Hattakon, which is by the east coast of Haran. If you actually know the law, he's actually enlarging it, is he not? And what son of Noah did he say he would enlarge? He said he would enlarge Japhet in the tents of Shem. What is it? No, I'm talking about what son of Noah.
Oh, you said Joseph.
No, I read Joseph.
Oh, okay, yeah, Shem. I thought you said what son of Joseph. One of their names do mean enlarge, all right?
Yeah, Japhet. I believe.
I'm talking about the judges.
No. Not Manasseh and yeah, open, which is widening, broad, wide place. And he said he do it in the tents. He will open Japhet in the tents of Shem. So what is he doing? Taking all these Gentiles' lands and open it up so Shem can have more places to dwell. Just like he said he would do. See, niggas overlook this part in Ezekiel 47 where he's telling you he's enlarging the land. He's making it bigger. The land didn't extend all the way to Damascus before. He said, from the border of the sea shall be Hazaron, the border of Damascus, and the north toward the border of Hamath. This is the north side. The east side you shall measure from Haran and from Damascus and from Gilead, from the land of Yasharal, from the border unto the east sea. This is the east side. And on the south side, southward from Tamar, even to the waters of Strife and Kadesh, the river to the great sea. This is the south side. Southward. Anybody remember where the waters of Kadesh was? Where the strife went at? Y'all remember that? You remember that?
Yeah.
That's Meribah. That was in the wilderness. So now he's stretching it even all the way there. That's yours. That wasn't our land when we were walking through there, was it? You see how he enlarging it. That's why I'm reading this so you can see that, because he said I'm bringing you into a broad place, a larger place for you to sit down at a table and eat, so you can have rest and quietness, to be free from oppression, because I've separated you so by the words of my mouth so you can live. The west side also shall be from the great sea, from the border, till a man come over against Hamath. This is the west side. So you shall divide this land unto you according to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. Because if we would go back to Yahushua, son of Nun, in Exodus, he didn't give him all that. He didn't give him all that. That's a broad place right there, ain't it? That's a broad place. Revelation 22 and 14 in the heaven. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. He that is Kadash, let him be Kadash still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am the Aleph and the top, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. And that's where yours come in at. Because now, when you are overcome by eating that manna and enduring to the end, now you can eat the fruit of the land, because now you entered into the land to have great rest. Since we mentioned that, there, back to Revelation 21 just a tad. 21 and 4. I will conclude at verse 8, because I would be remiss if I didn't. So when we look at that, right? When you come into this land because you heard his word, and you took his discipline, then he can remove you, he can separate you, he can show you this by the words of his mouth, which therefore will relieve you from oppression, to turn you to his thoughts or pull you to his thoughts, so that he can separate you to the covenant of life, so he can bring you into this place where you can dwell in this broad place, so you can be a partaker of the marriage supper of the Lamb. All because what happened when after they defeated Pharaoh? They sat down and they had a feast in the wilderness, did they not? Because he was trying to bring him in just what Job said is what Yah did in Exodus. That's what he did. And why did he do it? When he got honor on Pharaoh. Because I got to bring my people through dry ground, just like he brought you through dry ground through Yahushua HaMashiach, to make you the sons and daughters of Elohim. Therefore you have no business living for yourself, and you should live for Elohim continually as long as you have breath. You should rejoice every day you are alive, because you have life, and not in the literal sense, but in the literal sense. No matter how down you might get, no matter how hard things might get, no matter how sad you might be, you have to realize that you have life dwelling in you if the words of the living Elohim are present. Because Yahushua HaMashiach is there to comfort you, as he said he would be, an aid, a help, and a relief to all those who seek Elohim by him. If you seeking Elohim by him, that means you seeking him by his word. And if you seeking him by his word, that means you laid it up in the treasure chest of your heart. If you laid it up in the treasure chest of your heart, that it will come out in your words, in your deeds, and in your actions, by the manifestation of the faith that you have in the living Elohim, and Yahuwah of hosts is his name. 21 and 4. Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Did he not wipe away the tears from their eyes in Egypt? And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. He said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. He said unto me, It is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, and I will give unto him that is athirst the fountain of water of life freely. He that overcome shall inherit all things. Then we just read about inheritance of land. You will inherit all things. I will be his Elohim, he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burn with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Hold on. Hebrew chapter 6. He said that's what you're going to get if you participate in all that, right? That's the second death. But hold on. Hebrew chapter 6. 6 and 7. Well, 6 and 6. And we'll end it with that. 6 and 6. Hebrews 6 and 6. If they shall fall away, to renew them again unto repentance, seeing they crucify to themselves the son of Elohim afresh, and put into an open shame. For the earth which drink in the rain that come oft upon it bring forth herbs meet for them by whom it is dressed, receive Baruchim from Elohim. But that which bear thorns and briars is rejected, is nigh unto cursing, who ended to be burned. But beloved, we are persuaded better things of you, and the things that accompany us salvation, though we thus speak. So we are persuaded of better things of you than for you to burn because you want to be an idolater or abominable or a whoremonger or a liar or fearful or unbelieving. If you serve the living Elohim, the book tell you that perfect love does what? You ain't got no business fearing nothing in this life. He has not given you the Ruach of fear. If you fear a man, you ain't fit for the kingdom of Elohim. Period. If you fear anything a man can do in any situation or circumstance, you are not fit for the kingdom of Elohim. It wasn't made for you. His people don't fear nothing. Did Yahushua and Caleb fear them giants? They didn't see none of that. That's why he wanted to kill the people as one man, because they were fearful. What did Nehemiah say? You sent these people to make me fearful, unless I sin against my Elohim. Yahushua had no fear. David had no fear. Solomon had no fear. You ain't got no business fearing no man and say you serve Yah. That's a coward. You can't say you serve Yah and you a coward. Cowards have fear. You supposed to be a man of valor. This man say he taught your fingers how to fight. So he taught you how to battle by the power of his word. You ain't got no business fearing nobody in no situation. What can they do to you? They can't do nothing but kill you, and that's all they can do. What can the cracker do? Just fire you from your job. What can the government do? Can't do nothing but lock you up. You know what I'm saying? What can they really do to you? But what can Yahuwah do to you? More things than your mind could even wrap yourself around or imagine. And that's why we more persuaded you to attend to the things that pertain to salvation and keep this man's word stored up in your heart and let it direct your paths and your ways so you can show yourself to be a son or daughter of the living Elohim. A true Yahudim, circumcised in the heart. But hallelujah for Yahushua.